You subscribe to Pando?
That's so hot.
You subscribe to Pando?
That's so hot.
You subscribe to Pando?
That's so hot.
All right. Welcome everyone. It's episode 79. It's episode 79. Which I thought it's actually quite a couple episodes we got together by now, and I think when I made
That's so hot.
the card for Mittens, he was number 90 actually, so we're pushing towards 100, which is kind of impressive actually, I think. And I thought that collection of cards that wouldn't be complete without Mittens, right? So one of the holy shit, guys, what the fuck? How would I have this card, this card game without a Mittens card in there, right?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I didn't think that I would ever actually get an invite to FC chat because I'm rarely in FC, but I did have a little fanboy moment when you made the card, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna actually get a Pando card. Like, it's cool. No shit.
You were on my list the entire time. The thing is, you run your own show, and I know, if you do a weekly show already, do you feel like doing another show, right? Not necessarily. And then
I'm down for guest spots, right? Like that's basically what it is. Like I can breeze by and do guest spots like this on I was on Merc and Brisk's stream a couple weeks back and had a grand old time. It's your house, so your rules, and it's an honor. It is. I mean, I of all people, and we'll be talking about this, I'm sure. I have FC'd off and on in the past, exclusively pretty much with capital ships. Every time I try to get involved with subcaps, it's bad for everybody who has to follow me. But yeah, it's cool. And we've got High Wanto here too.
Yeah, so
hello.
I was about to give you guys an introduction, a super short, not that.
Go ahead, do it.
Most people should know who you guys are, but yeah. So High, obviously, good friend of mine, has been on a couple times. What I always like to say, the spiritual leader of Snuff, really, right? Also that picture that
yeah.
Who was it? I forgot who linked it. I just instantly all right, I'll put that there now. And I want to call you out, High, because you told me when Mittens is gonna come on, you're gonna be on cam, and you're not on cam because your room is too messy. I'm like, come on. Right.
It's all right. Next time.
When Mittens comes on, you do it. Breaking those promises. I can't believe it.
But, no, I'll remember it. I'm sorry.
All right.
It'll happen.
Next time, the grand High face reveal.
Yeah. You already know what I look like. It's not really a reveal. You'll just make fun of my hair, as you normally do.
Well, I never made fun of it. I think it's magnificent.
You told me to get a haircut 20 times.
That's not. I've never told you that.
Yeah,
you must.
Nice,
no. You're mixing that up. I would never tell anyone to get a haircut. I mean, unless it's fucking, craziness.
So I'm going to apologize while Pando is having a sip here. I want to apologize to everybody. I'm in rough shape this week. So just a little Pando. Is it okay if I go into this now? I'm gonna explain the situation.
Do it. Do it.
Okay, so I'm kind of catching up with things that have been happening. As you guys can see, I got a beard. I'm kind of a hot mess. Well, hopefully hot, but definitely a mess. So a few days ago, I sustained an unironic, pretty nasty injury during literally just an incident in the fuck palace. As I was being a little bit too enthusiastic and trying a new position, and I overextended. I didn't know this could happen. This has never happened to me before, but I overextended my fucking big toe because I dug into this mattress. I'm not going to go into too many gory details, but basically I dug into this memory foam mattress with my fucking big toe, and here I'll just show it. Situation. And I have been a few hours later, my toe and the ball of my foot started hurting like a motherfucker. It wouldn't actually I couldn't put it in a position where it would be okay. And so I try to go to bed at 4 a.m. and then 8 a.m. I can't sleep, and I've just been in agony the entire time. And then we realized it's actually a pretty serious injury. So I have for the last few days been getting nursed back to health by my lovely girlfriend. And it was hyperextending this, it was I couldn't walk to the fucking bathroom. I had to crawl from the bed in my Snuggie to the bathroom just to be able to take a fucking piss because I was not ambulatory. And so after a couple of days of, elevation and all of that stuff, I can now sort of stump around the house, but I am a little bit. I'm a little bit unplugged from things but it was great actually because I was able to finally get back to my battle station yesterday and see that on the Imperium side, the guys have been doing good work. We've got some news, things have been happening. It doesn't matter that I was down and out because everybody has been handling things. But if I look like shit and I'm slightly Elysium is talking about these pappy links or whatever right now, but I'm going to do my best, guys. I'm going to do my best, but please bear with me. I had to take a bunch of fucking painkillers before the show, and we're just taking it day by day. Maybe I can hire NSH with some Mittens foot picks by the end of this, right? So,
maybe.
Yeah.
The NSH thing, it already kind of leads towards one of the things we're probably gonna talk about here. Which is the whole NC situation, and then I think maybe we should not even talk about the drama that's that hostiles have first, but I think it's kind of incredible.
I can't I can see that this is just broken out, but I was trying to pop painkillers and take a piss before I got to, I was in my Snuggie before this. I am completely unprepared to talk about the it looks. I mean, it's the same nerds screaming at each other, but I don't think that should hijack the show. People can tune in tomorrow on the Meta Show, and I'll have Reddit and whatever. We can go from there. But I don't think we should. It's your show, dude. Wherever you want to direct us. I am here. I am ibuprofen up. I got my card. See, this is another reason why getting rid of the goatee was a good thing, is that I can't grow facial hair to save my life. This is not trying to grow my facial hair out. This is just sort of comes in kind of patchy, and I haven't shaved in 5 days because whoops. Anywho, where we want to go?
What I actually wanted to say is maybe we shouldn't talk about the hostile stuff first, but about the fact that I think it's kind of incredible to be under pressure for a year like this, right? Nobody. No alliance in the game has ever been under this much pressure, or no coalition, I should say, right? But we managed to actually avoid drama like that, which is kind of incredible, right? And then I kind of a part of me wants to just say I was probably the guy in it that has pushed before the war was announced or anything, that has pushed to actually leave the Imperium. And I always wondered. You guys must have known, you guys probably knew that, I wasn't a fan of being in a coalition.
Well, I know you don't like big block war stuff. Yeah. That's your whole thing. It's not oh, grr Pando. I mean, it's not a shock. You have your thing, and sledgehammer, fuckfest block wars were never it didn't surprise me. But I wasn't worried about it because tribe is love and tribe is life. Like at the end of the day, like the Imperium is stuck together not because of, to be fair, credit to our leadership team and to our people. Really, what it comes down to is the people. Leadership is a big component about it, and we'll go into that because I love talking shop. I love talking shop about leadership, but I think one of the things that makes me a better leader than our enemies is first and foremost being able to give credit where it's due, right? Because like I make final decisions on things a lot as being sort of like the executive, but when things are going according to the way that the system is sort of set up, the less I do, the better, right? Like it just, the things, the trains run on time, people do their jobs, people do what they're supposed to do because they're invested in making a better experience for the dudes in the fucking trenches that make it happen. And the dudes in the trenches are invested in making things better for the guys who are trying to help them, right? The whole F2 thing we've been doing. And it is actually for me, just speaking of like a checkup on the leadership things, like I was abruptly and unexpectedly injured and I couldn't get to Jabber, right? I could get to Discord on my phone, but I was incapacitated. And then I come back from a couple of days of, whining to find that I got the reports from the Adge and the crew, and everything is going according to our designs, and it's cool and good. And I think that really the real test of the health of an organization is what happens when whoever happens to be in charge is abruptly and unexpectedly taken off the chessboard for an indeterminate amount of time. And then how well do people do what's necessary? Are they doing what they do because they're trying to impress some sort of internet spaceship big boss? Look at me, right? Like it's not that. It's the Imperium has withstood this because we care about each other more than we care about dealing with the suffering, dealing with the work, dealing with the challenges. And to be fair, now at this phase of the war, it's not much suffering, right? We get to log on and have these idiots, jump headfirst into the wood chipper each time. But I've just been, it's such an honor. It's such a fucking honor to run this thing because no other tribe, no other entity in the history of online gaming. And this is true. This is the fucked up thing about this. Like, this is the mind blowing thing. Like, way bigger than me, right? Like, way bigger than me. This thing that the Imperium has pulled off, just surviving to this point and staying together and not exploding in the kind of drama that our enemies seem to have on days that end in Y, is a testament to everybody that isn't me that makes it happen. Because they're the guys who are going on fleets. They're the guys who are in the trenches. They're the guys that are saying, I'm going to still log on every day where next door. And I love the fact that we have T5ZI next door. Like T5ZI is my favorite special friend because you so rarely, from like a big picture sociology nerd perspective, you so rarely get an opportunity to have a direct comparison in terms of the strengths and weaknesses of various organizations. And it has been very useful for me from like the whatever the spooky Mittani stuff is to be able to just see T5ZI next door and just have such an easy way of saying, well, my guy's like this and your guy's like that and things. Yeah, so it's so in all of these conversations we're going to have when I herf blurfs about like leadership or something, you can't lead unless people are invested in something that's bigger than the leader. Like I can be like the bestest leader in the world, but the people need to want what you're trying to lead them to. And our people fundamentally want to be and to stay our people. That is an actual thing that we in the Imperium believe in. At least most of us do. Otherwise, this thing would have disintegrated like the puppies do. So all of the herfity blurf, all the credit for the Imperium sticking together for a year plus through the most intense pressure gaming has to offer, which is a Hell War and EVE Online with literally the entire galaxy trying to kill you for a year with all the odds stacked against you. It's because of the boys and girls in the trenches.
Yeah. So like why I brought that up and said it was like, I think that's one of the things the Poppy guys were probably counting on is that Init would probably, they must have known.
They really believed you guys were going to leave.
Yeah,
it was like goons are all crabs and Init is going to leave. That's how they started the war. Is they genuinely believe that the instant that you guys came under, like they just don't know Init. Like as soon as they started saying that,
I think they misunderstood what we were trying to, or what I was necessarily like pushing for was not like against the Imperium. It was just against the big coalitions. Now they have the biggest coalition, so there was more reason.
We're the underdogs. We're the outnumbered underdogs. So I mean, look, Enid is the Space Marines to Goonswarm's Imperial Guard, right? In the whole Imperium thing, like it would be silly to try to make a guy like Pando or Dark Shines run around and do main fleet sledgehammer, that kind of thing. And like, I'm perfectly cool with goons. Like, I'm all about that Imperial Guard shit. Like, meat grinder, sledgehammer, no subtlety, just fucking crush the puppies, do what needs to be done. But man, it is a dream. It is a dream strategically to have that kind of like spec ops, scalpel, space marine, whatever elite force thing. The fact that init can deploy far away and that you are not like Goonswarm, and the fact that you don't like those big fuckfest fights and stuff has already proven to be an incredible advantage over the course of the last year. Like the fact that you guys can operate independently, the fact that you are like high speed, low drag, like you are the Imperium's like spec ops group. I don't want to say spec ops because we've had some dumbass drama in the past with people calling themselves spec ops, but I hope you understand the compliment that I'm trying to give you here is like your profile of not liking the main fleet stuff actually is a tremendous advantage if you are utilized in the right way. And most of what I end up doing in the big chair is just attempting to make sure that our best talents are working in areas that are aligned with their talents, right? I want people who are good at doing the thing that they're good at, rather than being, square peg in a round hole.
And so something that was interesting that you said is like when you fall out for like a day or two, like you have people picking it up. And I want to like, since you just like, said so many nice things about the init, I want to shout out to like Shines, because I felt like the last 2 months, maybe I didn't do all that much in it, but I know I can take a step back and not be, there's no hostility within the FC team or whatever. Everyone understands it, and Shines just carried the alliance the last more than 2 months, really. Like Shines really like took on that leadership role that, Bliss fell out the same thing, right? Like Bliss knew, okay, I can be away and concentrate on my real life stuff and whatever, and he knows like he got a team behind him that can carry it. And that's what we did, right? And now Shines is really carrying in it, which is like, super nice.
Leading. I mean, many people can lead. Like when I'm not the only leader in Goonswarm, and so I don't think that you or Shines or Bliss are really carrying is the bad sign, because a lot of times that's a thing that happens when you have somebody who goes away and somebody comes back and then they carry things. If the structure is set up that way where everybody is mutually supportive towards the group's interests and strategic goals, then it's more like, Bobby Atlas carried Atlas, and then one day he just broke and snapped. And if I saw a risk of Dark Shines doing that, I would probably take him aside and try to warn him about it. But I mean, you guys seem to be, the things have worked out pretty well.
I feel like we're kind of taking turns to a degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think to bring Hai in here, actually, we have Hai here too. Maybe you want to say something about this, because I think Hai and Tao have a similar dynamic, right? Like you guys can count on each other. That if one of you guys is not there, the other one would pick it up and be around, right?
I mean, yeah, but as of recent, it's been more Tao than me doing anything. Let's be honest. Done.
But that's exactly what I'm saying, right? If you're not around as much, Tao is going to be around. Everyone can count on like one of you guys at least to be around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think you always have a couple of figures that really are the alliance, right? That guaranteed to have fleet members going, and compared to other FCs, they'll never have the amount of people, and they really run the alliance. I think that's pretty much what PvP alliances are these days, just a couple main people or one main person, and I think that's you and Shines for in it, because I think Bliss doesn't really do much anymore, right? Compared to what he used to do in the old days.
Yeah, but so Bliss has that superpower to just show up and go like full on hell mode, right? Like I don't know how he does it. Like he suddenly is there, and like he wouldn't have played for like, I don't know, a year, and he would just pick it up and like carry the alliance again. But yeah, he basically entrusted Shines with being in charge right now. So like he doesn't have to be here right now. So but when his time, like when he comes back, he's gonna be right back. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think what the Imperium has achieved is, for their circumstances, is really good. And I think actually, Pappy seems to be on the losing foot right now, from what I've heard.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like they're taking a break for the summer.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, you don't want to be all like Herfblur if we've won the war until it's actually won. But I don't. Do I look like like a guy who feels like he's losing a hell war right now? Dude.
Well, I don't know. Ask your toe, right? Who would have thought the fuck palace is gonna hurt you more, right?
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. Like, well, you're just having fun, so you don't notice how you've hurt yourself until all the excitement has stopped, and then a couple hours later, you're like, "Fuck, I've got to crawl to the pisser." Anyway, enough on that.
But since we talked about the NC drama a little bit, just like touched on it. Like, so maybe the stuff that came out today, I'm not sure what that is. I didn't read into that. But like a couple days ago, when Blazing Bunnies Corp, like what's it called again? Original Sinners and the other corp, when they left, it was all kind of weird, right? So they decided to leave, but then they got kicked, like on super short notice, instead of them like having that, like, you know, time of courtesy, I guess, like a week of like moving your assets out. And
I mean,
it didn't make sense to me. Like, maybe how you know more about?
well, I mean, we have to look at the characters here, because you got Vince Draken and Brother Bob, and I don't know if you remember, Panda, but when we used to laugh at the FC logs from escalating entropy, a lot of the drama in that would be caused by Brother Bob. He was an FC in escalating entropy, if you can cast your mind that far back. So it's not really surprising that this drama has happened. And obviously, from what I understand, the FC team has always been like people just kind of trying to get one on each other, people fighting to do a fleet, and quite a toxic environment. So I'm not surprised that the whole USTZ kind of just walked out from drama.
Yeah, but like, why did Vince like instantly like kick them and like go crazy on him?
I mean, old school wise, like, and first of all, like before I dive into this, I want to say that of the enemies that we have amongst Sappy, I think that I have respect for Vince Draken. Right, he and I have been trying to kick each other around the galaxy for more than a decade. This is hardly our first war against NC Dot. And, it was sort of an interesting thing for us at the start of this war for me to announce, like, look, we're dumping NC Dot. Like, it's not exciting for us anymore in terms of like the big grudge. Like we've done that. And so now our big grudge is with Test. That's the whole Test is next thing. But so with that proviso out of the way, this is kind of a classic Vince situation. Like the confusing bit there, back in, I think this was in like 2012. So I'm gonna date myself here. It was like 2011, 2012, somewhere like that. One of our mini, the Imperium or the CFC at the time versus like Vince and crew and tribute. And if I remember correctly, Vince and Elo were on the same side in this war, and it got to a point where we had gotten things kind of, I forget the actual war details, like things were in a stalemate or things were like, we'd gotten to things to a point where there was tensions rising in their command team. And then somebody shot a Falcon, like I think like Elo versus Vince, and Vince blew up. And what happened was Vince just had enough, and he blew up and he flipped a table and he raged out at Elo. And that kind of removed one of the biggest thorns in our sides at the time, because this is the kind of scenario that I have been wanting to see happen for a long time now. Is essentially you put enough pressure on the puppies, and eventually the puppies will form a circular firing squad. And it doesn't really get much more classic EVE Online than somebody getting a pissing match with Vince Draken and him just flipping a fucking table and saying, fuck you. And so that behavior from Vince, with him calling them like traitors and they're going to lock them out and all that other sort of stuff, is it's pretty normal for Vince, right? And this comes up every few years, but like that stuff from Vince, I'm like, yep, okay, we've been here before. They done pissed off Vince enough that he cares more about, and I don't blame him, right? Like one of the things is that the Pappy side is it's just not, they don't like each other very much, right? Like they don't have any of that kind of brothers and sisters in the trenches fighting an impossible war against the entire galaxy for more than a year. Like they don't have any of the cool, posted up in Helm's Deep up against the wall, like the big kind of fun. I mean, what we have to deal with might be shitty, but at least there's an amazing story and a narrative, and like we all know we're doing something incredible. And on their side, after a certain point, like, you just say, fuck it. And I think that's what happened is that the guys in the US time zone FC team were probably, I don't know if they were actually mad at Vince, because I don't think Vince was necessarily all that active at the time. Obviously Vince escalated it, but I think they probably just got sick of getting saddled with idiots like Pro God Legend.
I mean,
all day, every day.
If it's probably a case of they wanted to leave, and obviously Brother Bob will know more than the average line member, and he's probably telling the corpse, and Vince doesn't want it getting out that effectively, half the FC team is done, because once Test and PanFam are committed in this war, they can't really get out, because A, it's really fucking embarrassing to lose, like this at this point, and B, if they do this and like splinter up, then Goons are just gonna fucking kill Legacy. So they're in a really difficult position, which I kind of find quite funny. So he was probably just trying to put his foot down before it all like leaked out to more of US time zone or whatever, in a Vince way.
One of the things that I think that probably the most like the incident itself, like I said, that's kind of standard Vince, and he's walked it back a little bit and like gave a little on like letting these guys get their shit out. But from like a bigger picture drama perspective, I think what's really kind of a question mark is going to be, if you're in Sappy and you're looking around and you're listening to Gobbins tell you to go mine moons in Iridia, and that locust fleets with barges led by Billy, not even locust fleet, like this kind of shit. If you're listening to Gobbins telling you to go mine, if you're listening to Manny tell you to go shoot goons in high sec, if you're listening to Shattered Armor telling you that their plan, because there was a Brave town hall and it just got lost in all this drama. Shattered Armor got up there and was a little wannabe Pickles and told everybody that their standing fleet thing is going to be their new normal, and they're going to keep with that through like summer. They're doing these standing fleets in T5ZI, which are great. I'm delighted they're doing it. Please keep doing it, Sappy. And it's just if you want out of this, if you're on the Sappy side, and then your first example of corporations trying to leave is seeing Vince Draken say, we're going to lock you out of T5ZI, we're going to call you traitors, we're going to drop what we're doing and hunt you down, even if 3 days later Vince is like, oh, maybe not, maybe I spoke too soon, or maybe I'll like do a deal or whatever. It really kind of makes the Blue Donut into a death pact. Right. And that's one of the things that I think is very bad. Like the knock-on effects from Vince in this is like, if you tell everybody in the fucking Blue Donut that if your corporation, if somebody gets wind, if the Pappy bosses get wind of the fact that you're not happy with the Pappy bosses, that they might Hulk out and lock you out of all your shit. It's some bad like Hollywood shitty dictatorship on the downswing kind of vibes. Like it's just the chilling effect I think is immense. I love this. I'm grinning about this because I love it when my enemies make mistakes, and it's a party.
I gotta say, like same with M2 and what else did we have? We had some ups and downs, like
Operation Inho was definitely a down, but I'm glad that we did it. I have no regrets at all about like whelming those Titans, because we know, like I said from the beginning, like we're here to fuck. Like the only way you can actually beat the entire galaxy all at once is to draw them further and further into your territory and look for trap opportunities where you can leverage a situational advantage to try to degrade their strategic power. And, then at the end of the road, when they're exhausted, then there's a wood chipper, right? So, it's not been an easy war. I mean, I'm not going to try to act like, getting things to this point was simple or not stressful or anything like that. I mean, we've definitely had some big moments. And but it's amazing to see it get to this point. Like I genuinely believed that we would stop them. Otherwise, I wouldn't have risked all of our assets by withdrawing all of our shit into the 1DQ1 constellation and actually building Fortress Delve. Because when they attacked us, initially speaking, we were looking at our system and we just had a sprawl of crap everywhere. I mean, look at the fucking Satios. I had no idea we had 60 fucking Satios in Delve because we didn't regulate that. So like corporations put Keepstars up, corporations put Satios up. We did regulate the Keepstars, but we didn't regulate them enough. We didn't say where they would be. We didn't check their positionings appropriately. We had like in some systems we had like 4 Satios, which is just bad from an industry index perspective. I don't understand that, but my people do, and they were telling me like this is bad for this reason. I did expect that once this 3D thing, I thought that they would at least get to 1DQ, or if they were going to run out of steam, that they would like maybe get a couple of systems in the 1DQ1 constellation. And so I have names for phases of this war, right? Like little catchy things for what phase we're in. Right now we're in the welcome to the rice fields, motherfucker phase. Before this was the walls of Constantinople phase. We're all posted up on the walls of the final citadel, right? But then there were 2 other phases that they haven't even gotten to, right? One is, the siege of Terra, and then the defense of the Imperial Palace, right? But they never made it past the walls of Constantinople. And so the pivot before you get to anything funky is rice fields, and we are welcome to the rice fields, motherfucker. Delve is safe. Undock your capitals. Nothing to see here. And then where we go next is a place. But yeah, like I'm glad it's good that our enemies suck so much and that they hate each other so much that they can't stand. Like I can't imagine what it would be like. Just think what it would be like to be stuck in a command channel arguing with people like Gobbins and Villy and ProGod, just trying to negotiate, try to just watch them post, listen to them talk. Do you want to it's bad over there, not because of any sort of big conspiracy or anything. It's just that there are a bunch of people that genuinely do not like each other, trapped together in a suicide pact for a failing strategy that never really had a chance of success in the first place. But they didn't realize that because they never did their research on their enemies. Remember, the moment that they get to Delve, goons are going to lose 30% of their members because they believe we were the Olmeca Gold Goons Forum. Sorry, I'm rambling, guys. I apologize. I am coked up to the gills on perfectly legal painkillers. I showed you my foot earlier. I'm a hot mess, but
that's why invited you, though.
Yeah, it's but it's they just don't like each other, and I think that's a fundamental difference between the Imperium and the collective of our enemies. Like they like their own little tribes, they like their own little crews, right? But like the guys, if you're a dude in NC Dot, if you're these original sinners guys or whatever, and you're stuck in a channel listening to like some dumbass from Test, and literally who the fuck is this guy and who the fuck is that guy, and they're trying to tell you how it is, and Gobbins is planning ops to go scrape Athenors out of Fountain or something when 1DQ1 is right there. Like, it's not a surprise that these guys got pissed off and eventually just said fuck it, because what are they getting out of it? They don't like their allies. Their allies are, they're not making any progress towards their goals. It's not any fun. And I think that a lot of the PCU crisis is a lot of it. And like they don't like to say this, and this is not a popular sentiment, but I believe a lot of the PCU crisis is legitimately related to the Blue Donut running out of steam, right? Like, just fundamentally speaking, there were 3,300 of these motherfuckers in fleets every weekend a year ago. Now they have trouble getting more than 300 people in T5ZI. So where did those 3,000 players go over the course of the last year? Well, they were up there, and then the drop off in the PCU is directly correlated, right? And I'm not saying that EVE is perfect, right? Scarcity sucks, but these guys liked scarcity. They loved scarcity. They're like, oh, scarcity bad. CCP needs to do something about scarcity. Gobbins was up there in a fucking town hall bragging to anyone who'd listen about how scarcity is good because it will kill the goon. And you see when they petered out at the walls of Constantinople phase, the real deep hurting on that is when like Asbel number 20 gets popped in 3D and they're all pissing and shitting themselves and making excuses. And then I think that a lot of the Pappy Line members just walked outside. They were just like, enough. And then once it started going down, then everybody has an excuse. Oh, it's not that we're losing the war to the Imperium, it's CCP's fault. CCP done fucked it up. I care very deeply about scarcity now, even though a month ago, when I was still about to dream of burning the 1DQ1 palace, I believe that scarcity was good because Gobbins told me it was going to defeat the goon. But, it's an excuse. People, and I think it's great. I think it's great. I want them to take the Golden Bridge of Retreat. I think that they will be back once the Blue Donut gets shattered. But it's kind of like, I'm not too sympathetic for it. I'm not taken to the skies because they made their fucking bed. And if they're bitching about the fact that there's nothing to do in the rest of Eve, well, we've got stuff to do every day because you dumb motherfuckers blued the entire goddamn galaxy and settled in right next door to us. So we have shit to do all the time. It's a fucking party for my guys. They just get to log in and haze nerds. You just log your character and your super in back when they were still like jumping in the wood chipper. It's just it rules for us. And I'm not sympathetic to the pubby hordes when they whine about the PCU crisis, because it is a crisis. Like, if you're pissed off about it, maybe you should try to get out of your fucking blue donut, dumbasses. In the meantime, we'll keep bug zapping your fucking Skybreakers or Stormer, whatever dumbass crap Gobbins. Sorry, I went on. Sorry, I just completely lost control and started ranting. So
Yeah.
but, it's how I feel. I think it's the truth. I mean, if I have the most to lose, probably of a lot of people, given my I'm an Eve celebrity, and there's blah 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 blah. I don't want Eve to vanish. Nobody wants to rule over a dead galaxy. Also, I don't want to rule over the fucking galaxy. I'm not Gobbins. I don't want to be in charge of puppies. I want to be in charge of my people who I like, that want me to be in charge of them and do the best job I can to make a fun space guild for my people to have fun in. I don't want to be in charge of fuck sticks, right? I don't want to be in charge of weeb lamers, right? I don't like puppies. And that's why we do our thing. And these motherfuckers are all like, oh, we've got to deal with the Blue Donut because, they're going to try to take over the galaxy, the Imperium. We're over here in a fucking corner minding our own business, not because we're thwarted in our desire to rule over you. This is the whole Sir Molly Greater Band of Brothers GBC shit all over again. These dumbasses, they're so insecure. They're so insecure that a lot of the leadership figures amongst our dear enemies, they need the validation from having just a legion of fuckstick puppies paying rent to them.
So
I don't want a legion of fuckstick puppies. I'm sorry.
Sorry to interrupt, but I've been advised by a doctor to tell you to breathe between.
Honey, I was wondering. I am trained herfer. You breathe in through the nose while you're herfing out of there. It's like Tibetan throat singing or Mongolian throat singing, whatever the fuck it is. It's Merkel Chin is better at it than I am. But, it's a skill.
Yeah. Speaking of puppies and fuckwits and drugs and stuff, the reason I'm on the show today actually is that Snuff has a very special announcement. The history of the Imperium and Snuff is very far back and very deep. And our recent campaign has rekindled the fires against PanFam, Pappy, whatever. And we are currently deployed against Fraternity. So it is a good time and a good opportunity for us to join the Imperium. So we are rejoining the Imperium. The mighty tip of the spear of the Imperium is returning home. Yep, that's why I'm here today, and that's why the Mittani's here. So you guys,
it's us against the entire rest of the goddamn galaxy. So welcome aboard.
Yep.
the Losec branch returned.
Exactly.
But what I didn't get to, in your half an hour rant or whatever, I wanted to jump in at some point saying it was kind of surprising to me that it took them a year to have these little fights and have that drama come up. So I was actually impressed that it seemed like they were kind of stable when it came to the FC stuff, and it actually took a full year for the first guys to say fuck it, right? Because what you pointed out, but those there's some big egos, and I'm not saying we don't have big egos in our FC team. It's not as many, right? And from that many different groups, we're kind of all on the same page. But there's so many different alliance leaders and FCs that all want to have a say in all this, right? that I actually was surprised that they managed to not like have like massive drama after like week 2, you know?
Well, I think it's precisely like I'm going to go into sociology nerd territory here. So essentially, the way that I think of the Blue Donut or SAPI is I think of the entire coalition as a ginormous, the biggest yet in the history of online gaming. SAPI is the largest distributed responsibility problem in the history of internet gaming. And when I say distributed responsibility problem, if you guys have watched Boondock Saints, this is the classic example of the Kitty Genovese murder. And this is, if you've read any sort of sociology or psychology 101 stuff, this is probably old hat. But essentially, the fact that there are so many of them and that therefore there was always somebody else to blame and point fingers at is they're all just 152,000 crabs in one bucket, right? So whenever anything went wrong, it was easy enough to blame those other guys. And there's always enough other guys that nobody actually had to take responsibility for something. And you really see this with like Pro God Legend and Villy launching the war of extermination, and then the blowback effects actually impacting like NC right now and stuff like that. But essentially, and this was one of the reason why I was telling everybody, like, if you go back to my first war update about the war, when I announced the war was going to happen before the war was announced by the bad guys, it was going to happen. I knew this was probably going to take forever, right? Not forever, but like a year before the pivot. I believe, I hope, cross our fingers here that we're sort of in the pivot territory. Welcome to the rice fields, motherfuckers. But the very fact that there were so many of them is precisely the reason why it has taken so long to get to this point, because it's only when the failure is obvious to all that you really start seeing this sort of phase of the failure cascade. And it is the largest failure cascade in the history of gaming. It will be, and because it's this coalition of all of them beginning to shatter and form a circular firing squad. And I think it's just, there was just 150,000 fucking pilots worth of these nerds, and it took a year to chunk them through the wood chipper enough to the point that they'd lose their 3-to-1 numbers advantage. And you just gotta break them. That's just what you got to do over and over and over and over and over and over and over again for however long it takes until finally the puppies are fucking broken enough, and then they'll start like when it looks like even to the true believers, which is where we are now, I believe, that they done fucked up. And the other thing is that they're used to this kind of leadership. If the people who are in these puppy organizations are used to, like, this is what normal fuckstick style leadership looks like in dumbass legacy alliance number 43. Like, it was never going to work in a world where you have like the Pandemic Legion and the NC guys sharing channels with like who fed up and warped intentions. Like, what? Anyway, whatever, fuck them. So that's why it's a distributed responsibility problem. The entire Blue Donut is a gigantic distributed responsibility problem, and we are only just now going to start seeing them really start to tear each other apart, form the circular firing squads, and really have org issues, because now finally it's like cutting the head off a chicken that runs around for a fucking year, right? Like, after M2, I would say that M2 was the obvious, like, we have the high ground, Anakin. I think that there's a dumbass movie, but it's the best analogy I can have here. Like, we started this war with more Titans and super carriers than they had. Remember when Pickles was all like, oh, we're going to move a full 1,000 Titans down? I'm like, oh, really? 1,000 Titans? I remember my first spear, right? Because like a year before that, we rammed 1,100 Titans up Vince's, I don't want to be mean to Vince here, but we rammed 1,100 Titans up north in 2019. And then these dumb motherfuckers want to come at us and brag about, oh, well, I've got 1,000 Titans. Ooh. So, after M2, I think really it's just been, the brain has been dead, right? Like, you notice, like, a lot of their big names just vanished after M2. Like, Villy comes back to FCing, and he's FCing and mining up. And I'm not a fleet commander, so I'm going to criticize fleet commanders that say that they're fleet commanders that do fleet commander things and then stop. And now Villy comes back, and he's guarding a fucking Locust fleet in Iridia because Gobbins thinks that they can beat the Imperium by mining moons in Losec. You can't make this shit up. That is actually the fun part. This is what I love, is that the dumbass shit that is happening now in this war is stuff that I couldn't predict it in a million years. I can see generally that there's phases. I can say big picture, macro level, I'm the Mittani, blah, 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 blah. Like macro level, distributed responsibility problem, chunk them down. There's going to be pressure. Something's going to break loose, but you can't predict what's going to break loose. And the stuff like some of the greatest hits, I think, for the greatest meltdowns for the last couple months, I didn't see Olmeca popping up and getting himself banhammered, right? Like Olmeca had his base of support on our Eve, and that was the only place people listened to Olmeca, and he turned up and he gurgooned so hard, he bug-zapped himself. I couldn't have predicted that. I couldn't have predicted the fucking Matterall shit. Whoa. And then it just keeps going, right? And now this Vince thing and whatever. So this is for
This
me
is so
and hopefully
Eve,
for our
though,
guys
right?
is the fun bit, right? We've invested a year of our lives in fighting these fucksticks, and now we finally get a chance to sit back, relax, set their shit on fire while not talking about it. And that was a more for me because of the painkillers than for everybody else, because you guys are keeping quiet. I gotta not talk.
Well,
And just
sorry to
laugh.
interject, but
Go for it.
there is a
Interrupt me.
question from Darkshines here, and he's asking Mittani if you managed to read his fan fiction that he wrote. That got a lot of.
I read the
on
first
Reddit.
part of it. I didn't read the second part. I was this is again like off the table. Like I was last weekend. I was away. All this shit broke loose like last weekend. It was crazy. So my girlfriend, part of our family, was getting like married, and so we went and did the whole wedding thing. And there I am. And like on Friday was, I think, when the Vince drama broke out. On Saturday morning, I got intercepts of Fraternity doing their town hall and moving their caps out of T5 and into YZ9. Saturday evening, Villy comes back. This is just, you can't make this shit up. Like, it's unimaginable. Villy comes back and is leading a locust fleet of like barges and guarding it with 100 people in fucking Iridia. And then
which retard's mine in Losec, am I right? Fucking Losec.
Well, I don't mind minding Losec and things like that. It's just war of, it's who's doing it and what are they doing it for, right? Like that's their solution. If they were just mining in Losec, it would be one thing. But Saturday night, fucking prime time, Villy returns. It was just crazy. So anyway, I was out that weekend, and that was the weekend, just this last weekend, that everything just started, coming apart for them. And then, 2 days later, I fuck up my feet, and it's been wild. Like I have not been at the controls while this shit has been.
So bringing back, the conversation back onto your feet, Darkshines is actually going to write another fan fiction, including your feet. So you have that to look forward to. That should be hitting the presses soon.
Since when is Shines writing those? Wasn't it like who was it in Snuff who was writing these fan fictions?
I used to write them, but now Shines.
You used to write them.
Yeah,
I always thought it was Jonas or one of the
it was
guys.
me.
Oh, was it you?
Oh, yeah, but Shine's going to write one now, so another one for the Mittani.
Yeah, I remember reading it from my recliner at the wedding Airbnb, and I didn't see the second one, so I should actually, if somebody can link that to me, that would be cool. But yeah, Shine's is good. Somebody already deleted me. Perfect.
There's a recording of me reading one of yours actually. Then hi.
Yeah, that was ages ago.
Someone keeps linking that one.
Have you not read the recent ones, Panda?
I hadn't seen this one. I saw one of his in a comment in some other like Vince related thread. I hadn't seen the big one. Here, let me link.
Yeah, there's a big one that he wrote, which includes you.
I see if.
Wait, you mean
this is just a straight paste
right?
from Elysium, so it's got
Mittani.
All right,
but overall, like to bring it back a little bit to the war, it kinda did work as expected, but for me personally, I was surprised how long it all was taken. Right, I was thinking it would kind of go like this, but it would go, I would say, like twice as fast, maybe. But like, I don't know, like, what are the chances that this war is gonna end this year, right? And what are the chances that this war is ever gonna end? That's the question I would want to ask. Oh, I should have asked, or someone should have asked Willy and the other guys when they started it. Like, what are the chances this war is ever gonna end? And when it ends, what are the chances that the end result is a good one for anyone in the game, right? Because like it's kind of like that meme, like sacrificing everything for this, Or like a Game of Thrones reference that kind of fits is like you'd like to see the world burn to be king of the ashes, right? Like
Right.
it's like what's left at the end. And so you brought up the whole like the player count, the PCU overall. I think the war plays a big role in that, but then also obviously the scarcity stuff plays into that too. There's less incentive of having like alts, right? So there's a lot of alts missing. That's what I hope, at least, right? That it's not actually 100% real players missing, but hopefully a high percentage of that is alts that are missing on the PCU.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say. One of the other reasons why, like, we'll find out, right? Like, if the blue donut breaks up and people start playing again, then we'll know. One of the other reasons why I haven't really been screaming from the rooftops is, like, I guess there's a couple of guys there at CCP who were like doing things, but all of the Icelanders are just gone. And this is how it is every year. Because Iceland is very cold and dark, and then when summer comes and the sun does, like, partying in Iceland in high summer back in the day was just an absolute delight, and the entire country sort of goes through like a manic episode, right? Sort of manic depressive, I guess.
You think there's so
when it's
many
cold and
Icelanders
dark all the
playing?
time.
They only have
what's
like
that?
100 dudes there. It's like, do you think it's so many Icelanders playing Eve?
But I mean, I'm saying the Icelandic devs, right? Like the devs are probably just gone, right? And so that's another thing, is like it's sort of like screaming into a windstorm. It's like, in July, trying to get CCP to listen to anything as well. Like, a lot of European countries actually have people get to go on vacation and have healthcare and all this other crazy stuff that here in Freedom Land we don't get. And so, it's the unfortunate reality is that, the kind of stuff that would be required to unfuck a lot of these things that need unfucking, right? And I do believe that CCP has really fucked up with the scarcity thing. I've made no secret about that. I think that the evidence is there, but I don't think that there's anybody in the office to actually look at the evidence or notice people screaming on our eve, because that happens all, like, no company is going to listen to screaming. And the worst thing is that when CCP really gets the hubris, and that's what I'm worried about here, is that, like, if they genuinely believe that the level of screaming that they're getting is an indication that they're actually doing something right as opposed to fucking it up, that's a likely possibility. They usually assume that they're right until it's like, oh wow, I just broke my foot. Well, I don't know. It's disappointing, but it's not surprising. Let's put it like that. I think that's my take on it.
But yeah, I agree with everything Mittani said in the last 56 minutes. Agree with all of it. That's my ending statement.
So the thing is, though, they did introduce scarcity, and they, like, everyone kind of would have expected like a negative take on it, right? Like, nobody would have expected us to all like it. So at the beginning, they probably did exactly what you said and said, like, yeah, well, they're complaining, so it's working, right? But I just hope they have a fixed timetable for that. And I've never been on the CSM. I don't talk that much to CCP devs, especially not to the guys that did the scarcity thing or that are involved there. But maybe you have some insight there. But, like, would they usually like make it a fixed date and say, okay, scarcity era is from here to there? That's what.
If you think there's a plan, honey, good luck.
Yeah,
that's right? Like, the way this works for going back since, whatever. People will say things to me, like, the way that I handle it internally is when there's like a patch note or somebody's talking about something on a dev thing. I'm like, I don't give a shit. Let me see it when it's actually in, like, next, like when it's in a patch note or it starts turning up on CC. That's when I, from like the Mittani chair, that's when I pay attention to it, because CCP is never exactly like they say that they'll have plans, but usually, and maybe they do have plans, but those plans don't matter in 6 months because there's been too much churn at the company or somebody's had a brain fart or whatever. It's not a particularly well organized machine, and this is that's one of the reasons why. I always sort of see CSMing as almost like a punishment duty, because it's like, okay, have fun storming the castle. Like, once you get in there and you peel back the curtain and you see the little people at the controls, and that there is no, like, Wizard of Oz or whatever, it's it does what it says on the tin. If you're expecting some sort of miracle genius 13th dimensional chess thing, just listen to yourself and look at their past behavior, right? What'll happen is this. It'll be just like Blackout. It'll be a kind of thing where they're like, this is the best plan ever, and everybody that is criticizing it is bad and wrong. They will point to people that they see as champions of the community that agree with whatever CCP is doing at the time. So they'll like, they'll put some guy up on stage or whatever to be like the, whatever. I'm trying to remember the name of that kid. Manic Velocity, right? Like, they'll pick a champion and say, oh, well, this guy likes the Blackout, or this guy likes that. And to be fair to Manic Velocity, eventually he said, fuck you, CCP, and got out of that situation. But I think that when it becomes obvious that it's actually fucking things up, though, at their bottom line level, it'll be just like the Blackout and the Age of Chaos. Remember the Age of Chaos? Hilmar was telling everybody about Age of Chaos, Age of Chaos, Age of Chaos, Age of Chaos. And then it turned out that nearly ruined everything and got everybody's bonuses fucked, because the Blackout was actually a terrible idea and the statistics proved it. But they don't like being told that they're wrong. Nobody likes being told that they're wrong. And once they couldn't hide from the evidence anymore, then they put a torpedo in it and tried to act like the whole Age of Chaos thing never happened. And so I would expect the same damn thing with the whole scarcity thing. One of the other reasons why I'm not complaining about it is at the start of this war, it was like 2.5 Titans worth for losing a keep star. And one of the things that the Blue Donut has been cheering on is, we blew up all these Imperium Citadels. We did all these uncontested Citadel grinds. We blew up so many crab stars. Wow, we blew up your keep stars. I'm like, yeah, motherfucker. I wanted to blow up your Titans. You blew up our keep stars. Cool trade. I'm cool with it. A Titan now costs like, what is it like? I don't even know. With the build costs going into them, it's just obscene. It's ridiculous. But we've got the Titans. They're pissing and shitting themselves right next door to us in T5ZI. So, I don't really have much of an incentive strategically to take to the skies to criticize scarcity. Let somebody else fucking tilt at the windmill. Like I was there with the Jita riots. I was there with the emergency summit during the Incarna crisis. I have gone through our guys. I'm going to say it's not just me. Like it's our organization in the Imperium repeatedly, historically, has taken point in helping attempt to clean up CCP's messes such that they don't blow the whole damn game up out from under us, right? And we have done that time and time and time again. And you know what? Sitting on my fucking hands and hurting my foot in the fuck palace instead of taking to the skies to try to save CCP from themselves and save the puppies from their own damn Blue Donut, it's been really relaxing. I would rather be in agonizing pain from the fucking foot stuff than having to try to wipe their asses again. I'm just done with it. Like, let's see what happens. I mean, Eve can recover. We know Eve can recover because after Incarna, if they put more sand in the sandbox, if they make spaceships, more spaceships, like there is a recovery plan after the blackouts, after the chaos, after the Incarna stuff. You give the spaceship nerds more spaceships to kill each other and make it cool and gimmicky. And everybody wants to love Eve. Everybody wants to love CCP. Everybody wants to go back to the good days that we remember or whatever. So all they have to do when they back this shit off is show a mild level of, oops, well, here's a bunch of new spaceships, have fun, and people will come back. But it is really relaxing for me to sit on my fucking hands and let's see what everybody else can do with the PCU crisis for a change, because in the Imperium, we're busy. Our entire command layer is occupied with all of the fucking puppies. So sorry, guys, I just don't have time in our agenda to try to save the fucking game from our enemies and whatever idiots are doing the dials on the spreadsheets that have fucked up Null so badly. It's bad though. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like the whole let's everybody go mine Isogen and Losec. Where the fuck did they come up? Like, oh yeah, the Losec guys. They really want to mine Isogen. That's exactly what I think of when I think of Losec. You can't make this shit up. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, so yeah, that's why it's nice. It's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna sit here and they can blow themselves up, and we'll see how things go in a month or two.
All right,
there you go.
Let me just interrupt with a question I read in chat, which I can't even answer it, to be honest. Which goes, what is your dream outcome of the war? It was like directed at me, so I'm like,
CO2 returning, Gigax coming back and saving the Imperium. Yep, that's my dream outcome right there.
CO2 return, like CO2 returning. If you know, we could talk about the whole GigX things for hours too, I guess. But I mean, he kind of is banned for a reason. But if I wanted to answer that, I wouldn't even know for sure. Like I don't. It's not about, for me personally, right? It's not that much about like winning it. Than it is like, what is the end result? Like, what is Eve gonna look like at the end? That's the most important thing at the moment. We just talked about the PC, the numbers. Like, we need a healthy game at the end of the day. We all want to play it, right? So I would say the perfect outcome would be everyone just like leaves all coalitions. All coalitions are gone. It's only alliances, right? That would never happen. I know, but it's only alliances. Everyone for themselves, and then spread out a little bit, do their own thing, and then
I think the issue is that a lot of the Eve is essentially an aging population, and it's going to sound ageist, but I think people as they get older, they have less time, and
the break total shit. I heard
they like to play the game a lot safer, and I think alliance leaders that have been around for very long in nullsec are just bad for the game, as they get older, because they basically just become pussies, is a way to put it, and they prefer the safety of their blue donut, but there's nothing that you can really do about that.
Yeah, I think it cannot happen just because of all those connections. Everyone knows everyone. Like Discord, like I talked about that a couple times when I had PGL on, for example, right? We like to talk about that, like the whole Discord thing, and everyone's like so well organized, so well connected, and it's so easy. The game mechanics play into that too with the ACL. Like you can just like give everyone access to everything super quickly. It's very easy to have coalitions and to have like to work together. Nowadays, that it would never, you would never find a way, or you would never be able to give enough incentive for people to not group up, I think. So you will always end up with coalitions to a degree, right?
I mean, I'm sorry, guys. Like, I fundamentally disagree with this. Like, people like Wibble is like a fucking brother to me, right? Like, I see him multiple times a year when we're not in the plague times. Like, I'm never gonna apologize to motherfuckers, not you specifically, guys, but like it's a thing. I'm never going to apologize to motherfuckers that are butt blasted that we have friends. Like, these are people who I have been through, in some cases, like, in the Imperium, we've been through wars over more than a decade together. We have stories, we have experiences, like the amount of shit that like Wibla and Carneros and I have gone through together, that Sister Bliss and I have gone through together, that all of us in the leadership of the Imperium, we've been, like it or not, we're trauma bonded. Right. And so that's why it always strikes me as just, it's naive. And it's infuriating. It's not just naive, it's infuriating. And not what you're saying, but like one of the things that the attitude that Gobbins fucking elf boy cops, and incidentally, since people don't seem to understand why I call him elf boy, it's because he looks like a fucking Keebler elf. One of the things that's so obnoxious is Elf Boy going like, well, why don't we just have a post-coalition Eve after this war, wherever it's like, motherfucker, you tried to come at me and my friends. You're in a shit and piss in my house and try to get rid of my friends. Fuck you. I don't owe you shit. Right? All of these motherfuckers that are mad that other people are friends with each other are, I'm sorry, if you're not going to Vegas with us and getting drinks, you're never going to, and this is again, not to Pando and to High, but to anybody who's watching this that's wondering, why are people having friends? How dare they? Right? Like the reason why the Imperium got so butt blasted about this and why we're fighting for Vegas. We're fighting for each other in Vegas and FanFest and at the Goon Meets and all the things that we do every year, multiple times. We hang out. And a lot of puppies don't do this. A lot of puppies don't get together multiple times a year and hang out with each other. And, I don't, fuck Gobbins. He's not my friend. He doesn't get to tell me who I'm friends with. If I have friends in another alliance, if I want to drink beers with Wibla, if I want to run around with Carneros and Wibla and do Imperium things, why the fuck do I owe Gobbins, of all people, shit, to try to tell me who and me and my friends can't be friends with? Oh, I'm sorry. some random fuckstick's idea of how the sandbox game should be. Oh no, my sandbox game was played in a different way because those guys over there are making friends with each other. How dare they make friends? These people,
I mean,
it's so entitled.
that's-
It's this
thing is that-
entitled shit stick stuff.
But-
Ugh.
I don't think people really, I was talking to V about this yesterday, actually. I don't think it's really an issue of that. I think that is just a natural progression of the game. People make friends. It's
human
an issue
nature,
that-
right?
Exactly.
It is the case. I mean, the blue donut needs to break up because otherwise they're all just going to quit, right? Like, but they can go back to shooting each other. Like, also at this point, like they can't. I think it's gonna end naturally. Like, I think what's going to happen here is we're going to see the Vinces and the original Sinners drama and just whatever else is next going to break loose. Especially now that people are moving their cap fleets, or at least partially, out of T5ZI. The writing is on the wall, and what's going to happen here, I hope, in a best case scenario, is the enmities and the frustrations that have developed over the last year amongst the Pappy command when they've been stuck in channels with each other, not able to shoot each other. Once they start breaking free from the donut, suddenly all of this frustration, animus, and bile is going to come to the surface, and then hopefully wars will break out back in the other quadrants of nullsec like it should be. But if not, it is what it is. I'm not on the blue donut side. Nobody here is on the side of the blue donut. So whatever, fuck them. But if they're expecting the Imperium to break up after this for the good of whatever the fuck Gobbins thinks the game should be, they got another thing coming.
I don't think anyone would expect that or whatever. And when I said it, obviously, it's a dream scenario, and obviously,
oh yeah. The thing is, you don't
gonna-
like the block stuff. You don't like the big sledgehammer fights, and that's why you're so good at what you do, right? Like that's why you and the Init guys are like the fucking Space Marines to our Imperial Guard, bringing the narrative ellipse all the way back around from the start of the show. And so, I don't expect you to like the big coalition stuff, and it doesn't matter, right? It's great that you do what you do. I don't think that people who are going to be like tactical specialists aren't going to be interested in hitting people with nuclear weapons, right? It's not going to. It's just it's a different skill set. Anyway, yeah.
To bring this a little bit towards high. Today, obviously, the announcement came with the reserve keys, the reserve bank keys. And then the first comment I read about that was Snufter will have a field day with these. Like,
not really.
Like,
they
that's not
suck
your kind of
discs
thing,
so
right?
slowly, right? They're quite bad. It's like 150 mil a minute, and these like reserve banks have billions in it. So you're gonna have to sit there while fraternity forms 1,000 dudes and just like shits on you. It's not an easy task, right? I think people are overestimating how easy it will be to monopolize this, or you can't control LOSEC. People call it.
Yeah, so I think the number one. So you can't control LOSEC, but obviously you live in LOSEC. Are you guys gonna farm these? I don't know. Like, what is Snub even doing for money?
Exactly. Well, it depends on how easy they are. What the demand is. Whether we'd use them ourselves, probably not, because unless what I imagine happening is people farm the hell out of these, they get sold to nullsec people, and nullsec people just do massive fleets and just go suck up all that ISK in one day, and then the reserve banks are gone, or something like that. That's how I see it happening.
Yeah, to be quite honest, I haven't looked. Like, I didn't quite understand the details of it. I kind of know how they're supposed to work, but I can't even predict how it's gonna work, really. So, like, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Huh?
Yeah, I don't think they'll be very good, to be honest. I think it will just be a short-term thing that no groups just suck up all the money.
Well, I mean, I guess I thought maybe you guys had some plans with them or something, and want to use it since you guys are hitting fraternity and all that stuff, right? People are probably expecting you guys to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see, I guess. I mean, we're at the mercy of CCP's will. How good they'll be is based on them and how much they'll drop.
And so before I skip, so that was a question for you, and then there was another one that I don't want to skip over, which was the whole CSM thing. Like, so you took your CSM application back, and maybe you want to maybe say
Yeah.
why. And so there was also, we talked about some stuff, or you sent me a what is it called? Text file, I guess,
Yeah.
which I read, and maybe you want to go into that a little bit.
I mean, I'll save it for a little bit, but basically, I dropped out of the CSM because I didn't have the time. I wanted to focus on my exams, and I realized it's quite a bad time to do it because you obviously have to focus on getting attention and getting votes, and I didn't have that time. I didn't want to compromise my studies for the CSM, and I thought that Phantomite was putting in a lot more effort, and he's still a decent OSEC candidate. Obviously, unfortunately, he didn't get in, but I thought I'd let him have the spotlight if I'm not going to be able to commit to it. But as you've said, I still am doing something which I wanted to do to try and get across some points for FCs, because I think CCP needs to understand that a lot of the game right now, content creation wise, is way too much of a time sink, and it's not that fun. So I'm going to just try and get some awareness going as best as I can, and it'll either do something or it won't.
So,
but
what do you think are the number one, or what are the number one, number two issues that get in the way of content creation? And I'm telling everyone right now, I'm not gonna say anything when the word Citadel's coming in. Like, I'm just gonna say it right now. Like, it's it's just it's just a guess,
Citadels is a massive, massive thing, but there's so many different factors and knock-on effects of Citadels. I could talk about Citadels for hours, but there are other issues. Obviously, I think the war is a big issue right now, but that can't really be fixed. Player interactions and people making friends and these coalitions, they aren't things that CCP can fix. Whereas things like Citadels, Fozzy Solve, stuff like that, they can iterate that to make it more fun. I think CCP needs to just iterate on more stuff more actively rather than being so passive and waiting 5 years before they do something. Like scarcity, I think they did that a little bit too late, and that's why people are complaining. I don't think scarcity is a bad thing. I just think they did it a bit too late.
So what I think is one of the big issues with Citadels is they're connected to so many things, right? They're doing so many things that you can't just iterate like, a little change here, a little change there, because every little change impacts the other stuff. And if the other stuff doesn't fit to that change, you're gonna run into trouble really quick. So I almost think you need like one massive rework all in one go. You can't just, for example, you can't just say, for example, I know you like the passive income thing, especially for low sec, obviously, right? I think in low sec it probably would work pretty well. You can't just say, for example, oh yeah, now Athanos just passive mine those moons, right? No, you have to adjust it. You have to say, okay, if they passive mine, then you have to adjust the timers. Do you still have 3 timers? I mean, it's ridiculous anyway that an Athanos has 3 timers, but whatever.
Yeah.
Then you add that to the change log. Then you have to say like, okay, how much does it mine and all that stuff. But if it only has 2 timers, is that 1 timer right away? Like, is it always vulnerable? Is it not always vulnerable? Is it a strong timer now again, like pauses were, right? Because that's a way different dynamic. Then we talk about asset state, like, it goes further and further and further, and then it always leads to like, okay, you need to touch all the citadels at once almost, right?
The funny thing is, though, I think it's another issue that Citadels are so integrated into the game and like literally spammed everywhere. If you were to iterate on them now, people would still cry massively, especially if you got rid of, affected their offensive capabilities, because there's a massive war going on, because then, goons would see it as disadvantaging them. So I don't think CCP will be able to iterate on Citadels. I think they're going to have to add something new. I mean, they seem to have this idea of just keep on adding more and more shit. So I think that's what they'll do. I don't think they'll iterate on Citadels. I think they'll just try and add something to try and make people do stuff.
Yeah, that's my fear too, to be honest. They seem to like just adding stuff to fix things instead of like actually going back to fix things, right?
Exactly.
I don't know why, but like, it's a headache. Yeah, what else is there? Like, what else do you think is in the way of content creation? Like, what does it make hard right now for FCs?
Well, I mean, the fact that citadels are just like the only thing that people can fight on is citadels because they pretty much do everything as you said. So citadels are a massive ball ache because they can just be spammed everywhere. A fortizar costs a fit fortizar is the same as 2 dreads now, which is pretty ridiculous, right? It's a structure that does 40k damage, has a bomb launcher, PDS, ECM jams that will just perma jam someone. They're very powerful structures and they can just be thrown around like nothing. It's imagine being an FC and having to clear a region. And then if you compare that to like old posses, you could one cycle a poss, clearing a region wouldn't be AIDS. If somebody stopped fighting, and was just blue balling you on purpose, it wouldn't be such a ball ache to clear up a region. It wouldn't burn people out as much as it does now. And the fact that citadels have no reward, as you've said, even though the rewards on R64s was only like 5 bill a month, it was still an incentive, and that incentives are powerful things. People would have hundreds of billions of ISK fights. For example, F7C, which we had, Melmaniel, and shoots against Pandemic Horde, all lots and lots of fights, which were hundreds of billions over a post that would take years to pay it off. It's the small incentives make people want stuff, want to defend, and want to attack, which doesn't really happen with citadels.
Like chat, I instantly read. I mean, there are cores now. Well, I think the cores are a horrible idea. Right?
Yeah.
I was told about them like when they were like coming up, right? And then like there was like people were asked like what do you think about this and stuff, and I instantly said like why not have like for example on Athenos and stuff, why not have a 50% drop rate on like Athenos and so on, right? Then the big fish are a bigger target. Like that's what it should be, right? It's very like logical to me. Like for example, Mitten's Fuck Palace and 1AQ would be the biggest target ever. If I agree that Keepsters and so on should drop like a shit ton of stuff, I don't know about that, right? The staging citadels should maybe have a different rule, like Keepsters, Fortizars, Astrauses. But all the industry stuff, why not? You live in null security space, have at least some risk if you do like the big stuff, which was a contributor to the whole like ramping up of industry when it comes to supers and titans. Obviously the safety aspect, right? Everyone was like, all right, I can get into this business now. I don't have to fucking ship my shit from one post to the other and like throw it in here and throw it in there and it's all complicated. No, I just warp my freighter from A to B, from tether to tether, and like it's all fine, And if someone comes and like whatever, I lose 10% at worst, but they have to ref it 3 times with a damage cap. It's like nobody would ever do that. So like the safety was just so crazy.
It wouldn't be so bad if there was, a damage cap and the fact that you basically have to spend 1.5 hours bashing a citadel to get like, a 700 mil core. I think that's also the aspect that you have to form fleets to do these things. You can't just do it by yourself because a citadel is, can just kill 1 or 2 people quite easily. Even Astra houses, they're very strong and they're worth nothing, but you have to clear them, or if you want to try and fight on them, it's very hard as an attacker. I think that also adds to blue balls, right? Like you can't fight an equal fleet on a citadel as an attacker because a citadel is extremely strong, especially if you try and do battleships, because the bombs chunk you, and that encourages people to backphone because they know that they can't do it alone effectively, and then it encourages defenders to backphone, and then you just end up on blue balls and campaigns fizzle out. I think citadels just aren't very good for fighting on. But again, I don't think CCP is ever going to iterate on them. I think they'll just try and add something else, which is fair enough, to be honest. I think they'd have to do a lot of iterating for it to be something that would be manageable for people.
I would hope they understand the dynamic that you just said, right? So if you have a citadel and it has a certain defensive advantage, right? If the advantage is so big that the attacker has to form massively outform the defender, then defender would then have, when they get massively outformed, would have then like an easy out to say like, hey, like look at these numbers, we can't engage, right? So like most of the time, either the attacker says like, oh, the defensive capabilities of citadels, which is like now Papi, basically what they're saying, right? The defensive advantage is too big for us to do it. While, if they would bring like ultra numbers, which they can't right now, but like, let's say like another group, they bring like twice the numbers, we would simply be able to say like, hey, look at this, like we can't engage this, right? So, and that happens a lot of time on a smaller scale. I feel like that happens a lot of time, right? That someone trying to defend their citadel, they either look at like a massive amount of numbers and they can't do it, or equal numbers that the attacker wouldn't attack because of the citadel, right? And I think that dynamic, it's crazy. Panda, we did it to them. Remember X47? Yeah, I do remember X47. I remember it pretty well, actually. I'm not saying, I'm not. I shouldn't have brought up the whole Papi Imperium thing. I think at this scale, it plays less of a role, to be quite honest. At this, like the higher you go on the scale, a citadel can only do so much on the scale. It really can, right?
People also become more disposable, right? Like, one person is less important in 1,000 people than one person in 50 people or 20 people.
Yeah, on the scale, only two things really matter, which is the PDS and the tether, right? I mean, the DD, sure, the DD matters too, but PDS and tether, that's the key two things that have the defender's advantage. And we could talk for hours about like how many people would you need like to outnumber someone defending a keepster, for example. It always depends. You gotta be smart with the choice of ships, obviously, too. We've killed keepsters, outnumbered in Delph, so it's like, if you're willing to sacrifice, you can do a ton of shit. And mittens, I wanted to bring that up actually earlier. Remember the first meetings we had when the war was kicking off? The situation looked kind of grim, right? We didn't know how many people are gonna actually show up. Like we were all like looking at those numbers, trying to guess it. And I remember you being like super confident in this meeting, and Shines and I was like, "Holy shit! Like, why is he so confident? Like, there's a shit ton of people coming." I literally said to Shines, "Like, holy fuck! Why is he so confident? Like, what is he doing? Right? Like."
And I mean, there's just a lot of them. Like one of the things about this from like a metagame perspective is, and so like on the Citadel stuff, I think you guys are absolutely right. Where like once it scales past a certain point, like what's a sticky issue at game design when you're dealing with a couple hundred people fighting over a Citadel is very different when you're at the 1,000+ level. Putting that aside, as far as the confidence and the leadership, I mean, I think a lot of it is just time and grade. Right, like one of the side effects of the blue donut Pappy nonsense, I think, is hopefully these people, our enemies, have been screaming at us for years about N+1 and you're just a bunch of blobbers, and they call us the blue donut, N+1, blah blah. And one thing that I do sort of enjoy as a perk of this war, and they're going to hate me pointing this out, but I'm never going to let them live it down, is you can't whine about N+1 anymore. You guys had, the bad guys had 3-to-1 odds at us for a year plus now, and look what their N+1 has gotten them. So I think that it is one of the potentially interesting side effects of this war is forcing people to, well, it won't actually force people. People are going to believe their dumb shit if they want to believe their dumb shit. But maybe a few people might take a step back and reassess and go, okay, why didn't this work? Why didn't it work when they had the entire galaxy in 3-to-1 odds? Why didn't the Villy predictions about how goons were going to disintegrate the first 30%? I think that at a fundamental level, I guess it could be bad for me to spill the beans here, but at a fundamental level, now it's kind of too late, is they don't understand us. And I think that you really can't understand what the Imperium is, what your enemy is fighting, unless you've hung out with us in the real world. Like, if you know us in Vegas at FanFest, at the meets, you will see that the presence in EVE Online and the things that we do together as a tribe are like an emanation of this real world society, which mostly lives on Jabber, and is sort of independent from the thing. So, they went to war. Why I was so confident? Well, first of all, I had to be, right? It's not a fucking choice, right? If the entire galaxy is going to come at you and you decide that you're going to stand and fight and you're wearing the fucking space crown, then you gotta just suck it up and get out of there. Two, we've been able to use our entire spy network the entire war. I want to remind people that one of the reasons why we're having those planning meetings way back in the day is because Pro-God and these other motherfuckers, they can't keep their mouths shut. And so we had intel growing as this process was starting to roll. And so we knew this was coming. And that's why you started seeing us preparing and bunkering down. And for me, this is a war I've wanted to fight since the Casino War, right? I absolutely have maintained. And for years, dumbass motherfuckers have been out there saying that I suck for saying this, that if they didn't have the fucking infinite ISK cheats from the Casino War, that we would have been able to fight all of the galaxy to a standstill and hold out and win. And I am delighted to be able to publicly and repeatedly validate that assertion on my part. So, it's just, they're very predictable because there's a lot of them. They leak a lot because there's a lot of them. They have distributed responsibility problems because there's a lot of them. And just kind of like how with Citadel mechanics, the issues are problematic at like the issues that bother you at the 200 person Citadel fight level stop being an issue when you're at the 1,000 person and it's a different set of issues. It's kind of the same way with macro level strategy. When you know that you are fighting all of them all at once, a lot of the individual variations between the groups are evened out, because what you're essentially fighting is not just a distributed responsibility problem, but it's a council, right? And we know from the history of EVE Online, councils are not agile, right? Councils cannot like pivot, right? There's no one person is in charge of anything, and therefore nobody is really in charge. And so once they started blundering forward into this is a 40K analogy, take your pick. It was basically what the Iron Warriors did to fuck over the Imperial Fist, is they built an entire planet that was just one big trap. And that's, I told everybody what it was. I said it was the fucking Pubby Wood Chipper. It's not like we said, don't enter here. You come in here and we're going to draw you in through the floodplains, and then you're going to find the wood chipper and wood chipper go burr. Like we signposted it, and they did it anyway because they had so much. And it's not about the personalities when it's so big. It's not about Vince. It's not about Gobbins. It's not about Philly. It's about all of them. And they had so much, inertia, fundamentally speaking, which is a nice way of saying there's the biggest, fattest blob of puppies you can imagine, and they're going to fall their way down the stairs because they can't pivot. They can't go, oh, wow, this isn't working. We need to go do something else. All they can do is point fingers at each other and scream. And so that is one of the reasons why, in many ways, one of the frustrating things about this war for me personally, frustrating, is that just because there's so fucking many of them, it's the entire game that's in nullsec all at once for a year. It's just so many of them. We know where they're coming. We know where they're going. We can try to set up our traps. We can try our plans like Operation Inho. We can make our moves. We can take our shots, shit, whatever. But the fundamental fact is you have 152,000 pilots worth of puppies to grind through. And that's just, even if you know that they're coming, even if you know about their internal things, like that's just, it's a zombie. It's got a life of its own. It doesn't matter how many shots you put into the body. It's just going to take a long time for that fucking thing to stop twitching and fall over and stop being a threat. So yeah, that's why the confidence is, I knew we could do it at a certain level. And also the other thing is you got to believe. The path to victory lies between on a continuum of no not believing on the low end, and no hubris on the high end. When things are going well, you got to tell yourself, don't buy into your own bullshit. Don't drink your own Kool-Aid. Always look for more things that can go wrong. Always try to mitigate those risks. But when things are bad, just understand, go fucking take a nap. Go do what you got to do. Walk away from the computer, dust yourself up. And it's a long war. And I think it's easier to deal with the shittier parts when you're fighting for something. And again, this is the thing the puppies don't get, especially the test guys or the horde guys. Like I guess a few more people from horde come out to Vegas and stuff these days, but test usually has just like 6 fucking randos. They have no idea who and what they're going up against. And that's what we fight for, right? It's not about I don't give a shit about puppy space pride. Right? Ooh, I'm an alliance leader and I'm not a fleet commander. Ooh, wow. The opinions of people who aren't in the Imperium are just a risk factor that has to be either mitigated or whatever dealt with. But we're fighting. Literally, we are fighting for our friends. We are fighting for our right to hang out with our friends and play a fucking video game together, like we have for, in some cases of us who are like the old school guys that return. We've been doing this for 15 plus years. Right. And you run around to fucking Polygon and you declare war of extermination because these just pathetic little fuck sticks want to tear me. Like it gets me mad. It's not, ooh, Mittani Herfler. I legitimately get mad. I'm mad all the time. I enjoy being mad. I'm good at being mad. But like the very idea that someone like Pro God Legend or Villy,
Billy
is just a fucking loser. He doesn't come to Vegas. Villy doesn't come to Vegas. Villy doesn't go to FanFest. Villy, the first time Villy's ever shown his face in EVE Online is when he went to the fucking CSM. That is the only time anybody has seen Villy. And this dumb motherfucker wants to tell me and my friends who have fought together for however many years that we hang out with each other all the fucking time, multiple times a year. Traveling the world with goons is a delight. You can go to London and you'll see all the cool things of London because the London goons will show you the real city that tourists don't get to see. And that's how it is everywhere. And the fact that the Pro God Legend, Villy, has the audacity to say who we can be friends with, I'm sorry, little video game nerd loser, you're not going to stop us from hanging out with each other. So yeah, it makes us mad, but that's also another reason why we fought, why we had to win. We didn't have a choice. I let them blow up our Golden Bridge. Genius move while we're talking shit about macro level strategy. Watching these like trained SEALs, these idiot fucking puppies clapping for putting down T5ZI like it wasn't literally one of the biggest strategic mistakes in the history of online gaming. T5ZI, I love it. It's going to go down. When we eventually blow it up, we will put the fuck palace on top of where it was, but it's going to die last. T5ZI is like my fucking comfort. It's my little security blanket. I want to hug it. I want to hug T5ZI. I love T5ZI. It just shits out value all day, every day, because these dumbasses have, they didn't know what they were fighting. They didn't know what they were doing. And so you have to be confident. You have to get the job done because it's bigger than you. And that is something that you don't see on the Pappy side. These guys are all thinking about their individual lives. They're thinking about their individual Z Killboard reputation. They're thinking about their individual corporation. They don't have a tribe. And that's why they call us a cult. They call us a cult because they're never like, all you'd have to do, it's not like it's crazy. It's just a fucking fraternity of nerds, boys and girls and anything, playing a video game together it's a bowling league, right? But we know each other. We hang out with each other. And if they had eyeballed it, if Villy had been to one of these things, he would have known that we wouldn't have, broken up. And he was in the Imperium for years. He could have come out, but he didn't. Anyway, whatever. Fuck those people.
All right, let me stop you here. I wanted to bring up one point. That's why I brought up those first meetings. Because like one thing, like right before we talked about like their willingness to actually also lose some shit and like sacrifice some stuff. And you remember at the beginning, I was pushing hard to headshot D-P. Like, if I look back at this, like, it's one of my. There's a couple moments like where I regret, like, shit, we should have done this. I feel like we should have done the D-P thing still. Maybe the original plan, the first plan I had wasn't that great, but the second one was pretty good, I thought. And so do you have any moment in this war that you felt like, shit, we could have done more? And I'm not saying like, I think there's no problem, like no war ever will just go straight forward,
I mean, shit happens all the time, right? Okay, so here's some crazy ass, like, just being willing to admit mistakes and fuck ups. You can't learn from something unless you've accepted that there was a failure. right? Step one for I want to learn and not fuck up again is accepting that there was a fuck up, getting your ego out of the way, and then going, okay, what fucked up here? There's tons of them, right? We've been at a year of war here. Shit goes wrong all the fucking time, and that happens on all sides. But what, in my view, in many cases, I've said this before, I've written a column about it in the Dark Ages about how I think that in many cases wars can be lost by the loser. Like, we set up a great grand strategy. We took some shots. Things have worked out really well. I'm very happy with it. But what we're seeing now in terms of Pappy losing, I think is a perfect example of wars being lost by the loser, where they have made a bunch of mistakes that we didn't have any influence on, that they just kind of blew themselves up. Let me think of examples of things that I would have liked to have done differently. I would have, probably my single biggest regret is, and this is one of those situations where there wasn't really a way for me to have known this. So I'm not a big regret guy because I think it's a waste of time. I'm just not wired that way. But in terms of errors that I will absolutely be correcting, and we've already said we're correcting this, is, Fortress Delve was an idea. We never actually, it was just full of sprawl. We didn't have citadels in the right locations. People are talking about citadels this, citadels that, about the war, whatever. We just had it was I'm not a big StarCraft player, but it was just like a Zerg creep, right? We just had crap everywhere, right? That was, so we ended up with thousands of Athenors, Satios everywhere, keep stars in the incorrect locations, not optimized. The fits were awful. We didn't have standardized fits because, when we moved to Delve, the keep stars were new. I had no idea we'd end up with 45 plus of the damn things. So obviously, something for unfucking in the future is, we're going to have a system, we're going to have a process, we're going to optimize what works and then iterate on that. And we didn't have that. So in many cases, while we were in the floodplains phase, frantically, we're sort of back here going, oh shit. I also wish that I had taken the warnings more seriously, because we did get advance notice and we did start to consider the possibility. But Pro God Legend, a lot of these guys, all they ever talk about is we're all going to get together and shoot the gun, right? And so after a certain point, you got to wait for the alarm bells to ring more than, we're all going to band together and shoot goons like we do every 5 years. And so obviously, if I could go back in time, I probably would have done just a tremendous amount more of preparation and getting ready for it. But it's or with Op Inho, right? Potentially if I had put in another 10 Titans on that, right? If we, but again, there's only so many high speed, low drag Titan jocks that can pull off even trying something like Operation Inho, right? I have no regrets about Inho itself. I'm trying to go back here and find examples of things that we would have done differently, and there are probably a bunch, right? Obviously, you'd go back and
hindsight, yeah.
Yeah, so and I'm open about it, right? One of the reasons why we have trust in our command structure from our line is because collectively, when we fuck up, all you gotta do when you fuck up is go, gosh, guys, we fucked up. Here's what went wrong. We're sorry. We're gonna try to do X next time, and people are cool with it. But apparently that's, and it's great. I'm glad that our enemies are insecure douchebags that are unable to admit failures, because you just see the way that Villy was behaving on Trash Talk Tuesday when all this NC Dot drama was coming out. He's just sitting there they're just terrified, absolutely terrified, that if they admit that they screwed something up in public, that their dicks are going to shrink. I screw up shit all the time. I mean, for God's sakes, I was crawling to a fucking bathroom because I managed to fuck up my foot just fooling around, right? You gotta go, oh shit, whoops. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and I'm excited. I am really excited about the next phase of the war, and I'm really excited to do Space Empire 4.0, 3.0, whatever. We have a lot of very smart people. We have the biggest, smartest people, whatever. But yeah, our experts, because it's not me. It's absolutely not me. Our experts in the field, the genius types that helped build the 1DQ grid. There's Quernses in our organization, and multiple Quernses are working on making sure that we have a good rebuild plan. What's that?
And we're still improving some things too, right?
Absolutely,
There's
yeah.
There's a thing Ash and I are working on, or Yeah, we'll see. There's a little secret, but yeah. Guys, how about it's more than 1.5 hours. We usually only go 1.5 hours, but it's so hard to stop the Mittens rant train. You know, I couldn't stop it.
I can bloviate if you want. We can go up. I haven't eaten breakfast yet, and I should probably rest my painkillers. But
No,
yeah.
If if you have another like something you really want to get rid of, then now's the time, I think.
Mittani, it would mean the world to the members of Snuffed Out if you could read what I'd written in Pando's Discord in the FC chat guests column.
Oh my
take
god.
a look here. Look at this.
Just read it out.
Okay, hi Wanto, quote, I'm quoting hi. I will respect my teammates and make every best effort to foster an environment where they can perform. I understand that respect builds trust and that trust is needed for everyone to perform their best, unquote. We never say shit like this in the Imperium, just FYI, for all of the ranting about like tribe is love, tribe is life, like we're too busy getting fucked up together. Like this is like a fucking AA meeting. All right, well, I said it. Are you happy now?
Yes, very happy. Thank you, Mittani.
You're welcome.
Alrighty. I think with that out of the way, we might just call it right here. Guys, thanks a lot for hanging out. Thanks for all the subs. Some crazy people out here, I gotta say. And yeah, guys. Oh yeah, next week we'll probably have an earlier episode because it has to be kind of China time zone possible, right? So it's going to be 1600 because it's going to be Fulcrum from Mangoes and my good friend The Shines. The Shiny Boy himself is going to be on too. And that should be a good one too. So next week, next Friday, 1600. And other than that, I think we got it almost all covered. I lost complete track of my notes, I gotta say. When Mittens goes on a rant, he fucking steamrolls my quotes, my notes. Like, there was no chance for me. But
I think it turned out all right. Come this way, I'm just drawn this way.
I was ready for it too. I was kind of expecting it. So, guys, thanks everyone, and whoever gets the skin, there you go. Code is at the end. And bye.
Yep. See you guys.
Bring on the wrecking machine. For every city